No, Mayor.
I can't hear any audio.
Sorry, my mic wasn't on. Can I get a motion, please, to adopt the special regional council minutes for October 4th and the special regional council minutes for October 12th? Moved by Councillor Roper, seconded by Councillor Gerwing. All those in favor? Carried. Are there any comments from the public? Very well, hearing none. Business arising, email poll for ratification, the appointment of Lucretia Bain Adden to the Tourism Advisory Committee. Can I get a motion, please, to ratify the email poll? Moved by Councillor Souls, seconded by Councillor Andrews. All those in favor? Carried. Administration report number 68, 911 call box update. Speaking to this will be Ms. Jacobs.
Hello, Mayor and Council. So before you is an update on the 911 call box project. The information in this report was compiled by staff as well as technical expertise came from Mr. Glenn Miller of Pomax Consulting. And Mr. Glenn Miller is on the call tonight and is available. My apologies, not currently available. So Glenn Miller is available for questions following an overview of the report. So pursuant to Regional Council's direction at the August 9th Regional Council meeting, work is being undertaken to expand the public's access to 911 service, specifically along sections of rural highway where there's not currently wireless coverage. And in doing this work, staff have identified a grant opportunity through the Connecting British Columbia program to fund the capital cost to install call boxes along rural highway segments. And so through this Connecting British Columbia grant program, staff proposed installing 5 call boxes along the Alaska Highway to expand connectivity and access to emergency services in this region. So through this work, we've identified a company, Case Emergency Services, that has a certain type of call box available. They're called Blue Light Tower emergency phones. And these call boxes, or rather emergency phones, they deliver wireless emergency phone operation 24/7 and 365 days a year. They're solar powered and include a 45 watt they include a 40 amp backup battery. And with these emergency phones, a person in need of emergency services would be able to push a button on the faceplate of the emergency phone, from which they would connect to our 911 public safety answering point provider, Grand Prairie Fire Rescue. And currently, staff in conjunction with Glenn Miller have identified 5 locations for the call boxes. These include Prophet River, Summit Lake, location between Toad River and Muncho Lake, Liard River, and lastly, Army Hill, just north of Fireside. And so should the grant application be successful, we would anticipate installation would commence in the spring of 2022. And regarding the costs of the proposed project, the capital costs per tower would be approximately $24,000 for a total of $119,000 for all 5 towers, inclusive of purchase, installation, and signage. And with the funding formula through this grant program, the NRM would be required to pay 10% of the capital costs, which would equate to about $12,000. And then in relation to the operating costs, we expect they would be $20,000 over a 3-year period. So this $20,000 would be expended over the budget years of 2022, 2023, and 2024. Of note, ongoing operating costs are ineligible for grant funding. As well, the terms of the grant will require the applicant, the NRM in this case, to own and operate the proposed network for a minimum of 3 years after the project is complete. So that being said, staff recommend that the NRM apply to the Connecting BC program to fund the installation of 5 911 call boxes along Highway 97 at a total cost of $119,000, and that the NRM pre-approve a capital budget for 2022 of $119,000 conditional on grant funding, and of which we would contribute $12,000 to the capital costs of the project. And lastly, that council approved the required 3-year maintenance and operating commitment of a total of $20,000 to be spent over the budget years of 2022, 2023, and 2024.
Thank you. Mr. Miller, did you have anything to add?
No, I think that covers it. The only thing I'd probably add is that Case Emergency Systems would monitor the device, as Gabby mentioned, 24/7, but they monitor it for the health of the unit, so they can detect any problems with the solar power or the battery backup or the satellite phone. So they would and they send an email if there's any problem report to be detected. So they don't require a regular inspection, but if there's a problem, they will send an email and you have to go out and determine what the problem is with the device. But they're pretty solid and don't expect too much in the way of repairs required for it. And of course, the satellite phone will connect to Grand Prairie Fire as the 911 PSAP. So. And the phone and the device itself are, I don't think we provided a picture, but they're about 6 feet tall. They're very visible. They're very solid. The company reported they've had some installations like that in place for 20 plus years without any problems. You'd expect over the life of that, you might replace the satellite phone that's part of it, but the base of the tower itself is pretty sturdy.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Miller or Ms. Jacobs? Councillor Gerwin.
So thank you. I think that this is like a fantastic project. I have 2 comments or questions maybe. How will travelers be informed of these call boxes? Because you have an emergency, but so you're traveling down the highway, you don't have cell service, but what's the plan? How are we going to inform travelers that there are these call boxes available? It's coming up so many kilometers, or how are we going to do that?
Ms. Jacobs?
Right, thank you for your question. So in regards to informing the public of these 5 emergency call boxes, as part of the proposal we're preparing for NDIT, to which we'd submit the grant application, we've included a cost allowance for signage. So we anticipate that the NRM would purchase and install signage to indicate to the public and people traveling along Highway 97 that the towers are located in certain locations. And we've reviewed a number of ideas for what this signage might look like. I think initially we would install signage, say both before and immediately after, say on both sides of the towers, such that travelers are aware that the tower is available. I think in addition to the immediate signage, we would also look at adding signage, say both when you first enter the NRM, just after the Yukon border, and then right before at our southern boundary as well. And I think in regards to the public education campaign, that's certainly something that we would roll out in conjunction with the installation of these signs to ensure that both residents and travelers are fully aware of the call boxes.
Okay, something we might want to consider is just a lot of tourists travel with the milepost. And I know, you know, ads are like expensive, but we're in there anyways, so maybe we can add that to it, right?
The Milepost also asks annually for content updates, so we wouldn't
Okay.
necessarily have to pay
Perfect.
for it.
Thank you. And then my other one was the, so, I mean, it was mentioned that some of these call boxes have been installed for 20 years, and the report indicates that that they're operating well even in harsh weather conditions. But we've been told that on other types of automated projects before, that they're sort of set for our winters, and then it doesn't turn out to be the case. So I'm just wondering what investigations that we have undertaken to ensure that they actually are cold weather operable.
Ms. Jacobs?
So in regards to the technology, you know, remaining useful in this area, we've certainly been in communication with CASE, the company itself, just to ask, you know, to what extent is this technology viable in our weather, in our climate. That being said, CASE has communicated to us that they're confident the technology would withstand our climate. I think they've based this recommendation in that they've installed the same tower in other locations with a similar climate to ours. So I would say the company is confident that the towers would be able to withstand our climate. That being said, I'm not sure if Glenn has more to add to that.
No, we didn't go out and check with other clients from a reference standpoint. So we took what they gave us as being accurate. We did give them an idea what the weather was like here. We talked about, one of our concerns we had was about the solar, the fact that it's solar powered, and what happens if it's, you know, 3 gray days, will it still have power? And they're confident as well that the batteries will last long enough for the you know, with that amount of sunshine. So you know, I guess we believe what they say, with given the number of installations that they have, and their experience, and how we've related what the climate is like here.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. You might quiz them on the latitude of where they're putting it in, because it's not just gray days. It's very short days in the winter to try to charge those batteries, and a very low angle of the sun. Any other questions for Mr. Miller? Councillor Penny.
Just wondering, you had mentioned as well that periodically, if there is a problem, there'd be an email sent and somebody'd have to go and check on the unit. I'm just wondering what the plan would be, who would be going to check on this? Would there be training provided then to NRM staff perhaps to go out, or would we have a contractor that would know this equipment that could go look at it?
Right. So to answer that question initially, we would look at having a local company. We've looked at having a local company install the towers, but then in regards to the ongoing maintenance, we would likely have NRM staff that would be trained to respond should the towers malfunction. And from my understanding, CASE will provide training to appropriate NRM staff to ensure that we are available and able to respond should the towers malfunction.
Awesome. I just wanted to add, I'm really excited about this project. It's so cool, the things that have happened on this highway in the last few years. This is great news.
Councillor Souls.
I wanted to say kudos to the funding mechanism that you found for funding the capital cost. I do have some questions about the phone itself. Is it, it's a 911 only phone, is that right? It has one button, you press one button. That's the only button you have to press, is that right?
Ms. Jacobs?
That's correct. Initially, we've looked at purchasing a tower that would have one button on the faceplate from which the caller would be able to connect directly to our Grand Prairie PSAP provider. I'm not sure if Glenn would like to provide further detail.
Yeah, we did look at having a non-emergency number. I mean, a lot of the incidents that have been reported to us are not accidents per se. It's a vehicle breakdown, run out of fuel, flat tire. And so we thought, would it make sense to have emergency, 911 button and a non-emergency button? The system will certainly accommodate that. I think we recommended buying the one that can have two buttons, because if you decide in the future to get it, it's more expensive to remove the faceplate and put a 2-button one in. But basically what we're proposing is that there'd only be one button visible, and it would be 911 that it would call to. So that's the only option.
Thank you. Counselor Souls.
Also, what are they made out of? I asked just because we found out that concrete outhouses last way longer than plastic outhouses, and there's vandalism that happens in amazing ways for whatever reason, and I haven't a clue, but we've seen some of it in our region, and I'm kind of curious if these things can withstand being run over by a 4x4.
Ms. Jacobs?
Well, in regards to the materials, we've been in discussion with PSPC, Public Services and Procurement Canada, and they have indicated that they are willing to put material in front of the towers that would serve as a barrier or a deterrent to someone should they, be in a position to run into the tower, say with a vehicle or even a snowplow. So we've been in conversation with the federal government just to ensure that it will be an option for us when we install the towers. And then in regards to the specific material, I think I might direct that question to Glenn, as I think he's more familiar with the technology itself.
Yeah, I think there were two options that the case actually had. They had an option which is a kind of a call box. If you think you've probably seen these on buildings where there's it's a call box, metal call box, and you open it up and there's a handset. We felt that would be more subject to vandalism. Someone could pull the handset away, could cut the cord, and so on. So this device actually doesn't use a handset. It's a speakerphone. So when you call it, you don't have to pick up anything. There's nothing you can tear off. The devices themselves are made of solid metal. So there's minimal opportunity for vandalism on it. So I think with the bollards that the federal government said they'd put in front of them to protect, people inadvertently slide across the ice and slide into them, and the fact that they're pretty vandal proof because they don't have a lot of moving parts that you can pull out, and the top of them's pretty high, so you can't really easily get at the solar panels on the top. So I think there wouldn't be subject to that much vandalism.
Thank you. Any other questions? Very well, I'll look for a motion then. So
Sorry.
Councillor Gerwing moves the option number 1, the recommended that the Northern Rockies Region Municipality apply to Connect BC for the $119,000.
Second that.
Councillor Penny seconds that. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. Administration report number 69. Ms. Shepherd, community sustainability update.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So the report tonight before you is provided as a bit of an update on some of the work we've been doing related to community sustainability. You may remember there was an update in the spring when we talked about relaunching the vermicompost educational campaign. So over the year, we've continued to promote the vermicompost project in a variety of ways, like on social media with community organizations and at the schools. We've also, we were able to speak to the project recently at the NCLGA Solid Waste Forum, and just this last weekend showcased the worms at the Wilderness Day event at Art Fraser Park. Throughout these events, there's been lots of opportunities to collaborate with other sustainably minded folks, gather feedback about the NRM's current waste management processes, and generally strategize sustainability in the Northern Rockies. So some of that feedback, I've kind of listed it there. It's related to the vermicompost project is not really widely known about still. And some people that are familiar with it would still argue that they are keen for a refresher, that more awareness is needed in the community, and particularly at or by NRRM owned and operated functions or facilities. As noted in the report, there are individual barriers such as accessibility and inconvenience that people cite as reasons that they don't divert waste. And there's a shared opinion that some more incentive is needed in order to promote waste reduction activities. There's been some discussions with the schools to try and strategize how they can get involved with the vermicompost project. In 2019, you may remember passing a resolution that a budget of $2,500 be drawn from the composting and waste diversion budget that supported GW Carlson School in participation. And feedback from that project was positive, but it shut down early when schools closed in 2020, of course, with the pandemic. It hasn't yet kicked off again, but they are hopeful to start. While we continue to promote education and engagement around environmental sustainability, there's been some interest in forming a committee to gather like minds together to advance the initiative. This also came up at the Solid Waste Forum and talking about common themes of increased public appetite and awareness about the importance of waste diversion. So in the report, I've outlined a few options, including investigating ways to incentivize green waste diversion efforts locally, explore options to contract an opt-in organics pickup service, and support schools in green bin rental and dumping fees.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Ms. Shepherd, please? Councilor Gerwin.
Just a comment. I mean, I love all the options, and I thought it was really interesting, the idea of having the smaller garbage cans and then having that prorated. Like, I don't know what that would do to the whole garbage collection system or whatever, but I've heard that from community people too, right? Like, they don't need that big garbage can, and yet then they're paying separately to have their other stuff picked up by our new company in town. So that's exciting. But I thought that that idea was its time has come, I believe. So thank you for a really great report.
Any other questions for Ms. Shepherd? Councilor Souls.
Not entirely a question. I would recommend working with private industry as much as possible. And there's a private business that's working at providing this service. And if we can help her move forward with her business, the more we can do, open the door for her, the better off it will be for us.
Any other comments? Councilor Penny.
I like one of the options that were laid out here about establishing a environmental advisory committee. I think that'd be a great idea to get things rolling and actually have a group that are continually working on promotion and what have you. So I would make the motion that we would explore the opportunity to establish an environmental advisory committee.
I think personally, I like all the options here. I think not only an advisory committee, but the green bins at the school, I think is a wonderful idea. And I think all these options are worth exploring in conjunction with an advisory committee on solid waste disposal. So Councillor Penny, go ahead.
I was just going to continue the thought that we just had to find somebody that would have the time to take something like that on here at council, maybe if they no longer were on an NCLGA.
Well, I can't think of who that might be, Councillor Penny. So, but I think certainly we could give that a great deal of thought. So I guess I'm looking for a motion here of some shape or description. Councillor Penny, you brought up the motion of the solid waste committee. Do we have a seconder for Councillor Penny's motion? Seconded by Councillor Gerwin. All those in favor? Thank you. Perhaps we could leave off the other options options here to be dealt with through that committee then. Councillor Gerwing?
I really liked your comments that you like all the options.
I do
and
like them.
And I mean, we had an option on the floor, so I didn't want to like circumvent that, that motion. But I totally agree with you. Like, I think, like, if you were making a motion to have the other two options moving forward as well, I would second that motion.
So the options before us here are to explore options, or yes, the option before us is to explore options. So Councillor Gerwing, if that would be your motion, I would second that motion.
Okay, so yes, my motion would be that we should,
Pursue all the other options.
yes.
Okay, very well.
Thank you.
Is there any comment on the motion? Councillor Andrews?
Can we just keep in mind that, like Councillor Souls mentioned, there is a private industry. So just being cautious that we're not stepping on anybody's toes while we're exploring options.
Very well, thank you. I'll call the question. All those in favor of exploring all the options. That motion is carried. Thank you, Ms. Shepherd.
Long live the worms.
Long live the worms. Administration report number 70, acquisition of Toad River Bridge and on the road tenure. Ms. Thompson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have before you a report regarding the acquisition of the Toad River Bridge and the Nonda Creek Road tenure. I apologize, it's a lengthy report, but there's been a lot of discussion and history on this file, so I will try and summarize it the best that I can. The Nonda Creek Road is located approximately 8 kilometers west of Toad River. The road includes a bridge, which is approximately 52 meters in length. And the road itself is 23 kilometers, which accesses a previous communication tower site, which was operated by Northwest Tel. Northwest Tel has indicated plans to commence a request for proposal process to remove the Toad River Bridge sometime during the winter of 2021-2022. As they currently maintain the legal responsibility for the maintenance of the bridge. Northwest Tel has indicated that they do intend to remove the bridge unless an acceptable alternative option can be negotiated. Northwest Tel has indicated that a commitment transferring responsibility for the bridge to another party will be required by November of this year. The initial 3.2 kilometers of the Nonda Creek Road is located within Munchell Lake Provincial Park and is currently under park use permit to Northwest Tel through BC Parks. The remainder of the road, which is on Crown land, is within the Musqueam-Kachika Management Area, which is one of 4 local designated routes within the MKMA. The Northern Rockies Regional Municipality and the province of BC, including the Ministry of Forests and Lands, as well as BC Parks, have been discussing the Nonda Creek Road and the bridge since early 2020 and working towards finding solutions that would enable the bridge to remain in place. On September the 3rd of this year, Northwest Tel confirmed they're willing to provide funds to a party in lieu of the cost to remove the bridge, which could be used to for further maintenance and repairs that are required on the bridge, assuming that the party would resume all responsibility associated with the bridge moving forward. The report talks a little bit about the current tenures that are in place. Essentially, Northwest Tel does have a tenure through BC Parks for the first 3.2 kilometers of the road, as well as the bridge. And the province's expectation would be that any party taking over responsibility for the bridge would also take over responsibility for that 3.2 kilometers of road. The attachments in the report include an overview of the bridge location as well as the road. And attachment number 2 depicts the map of the current park use permit with Northwest Tel, which includes that 3.2 kilometers of road. The road and the bridge currently provide access to numerous or a few values, essentially a privately owned guide outfitting and tourism business, as well as various natural resource related tenures, and provide access to the public engaging in recreation and cultural heritage activities. The Northern Rockies Regional Municipality recently retained the services of Bairstow and Associates to go do an inspection on the bridge to identify any current repairs and maintenance that may be required on the bridge. The report from Bairstow and Associates is included as attachment 3 of the report, but essentially the report includes some findings as far as immediate repairs and maintenance, which are estimated at $128,000. A 10-year maintenance program, which is estimated at $130,000. Removal and replacement of the bridge estimated at $2.21 million, and removal of the bridge alone would be estimated at $450,000. The Northern Rockies Regional Municipality also solicited Urban Systems to complete an inspection of the entire 22.6 kilometers of the Nonda Creek Road, including all the water crossing structures along the road. So that report, which is dated September the 16th, 2021, is provided in attachment 4. The anticipated costs associated with assuming the bridge and the first 3.2 kilometers of the road basically include $268,000 for immediate repairs, as well as maintenance and administrative fees, which would be within the first 10 years of owning the bridge. Eventually, the bridge removal would be a responsibility, which would be estimated at approximately $450,000. For a total minimum required cost of $718,000 to maintain the bridge and remove it after a 10-year period. If the bridge remains in place for an additional each additional 10 years, we'd be estimating $140,000 for maintenance, inspections, and administration fees for each 10-year period that the bridge is in place. So assuming a 40-year life expectancy on the bridge, we'd be looking at approximately $1.1 million to maintain and repair the bridge. And that does not include any unexpected or unanticipated repairs or maintenance. Attachment 5 included in the report summarizes the costs associated with the maintenance, repair, removal, and replacement of the Toad River Bridge. In addition, there would also be costs associated with culverts located within the first 3.2 kilometers of the Nonda Creek Road. Based on the numbers that are included in the Bairstow and Associates report specific to the bridge itself, it's anticipated that any funding that Northwestel would be willing to provide would likely be exhausted between year 1 and year 10 of ownership of the bridge. And any funding provided by Northwestel would unlikely cover any costs associated with removal or replacement of a future bridge. There's been public interest in retaining the bridge. So both the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality and the Toad River Group have submitted letters to the Minister of Environment and Climate Change strategy, emphasizing the importance of the bridge. And 2 letters have also been received from local trap line holders, emphasizing the importance of the bridge. Recently, the Fort Nelson and District Chamber of Commerce provided comments also as well to BC Parks, highlighting the importance of having the bridge in place. So in order to ensure the continued access into this area and to support the local business that's located on the other side of the bridge, staff are currently recommending that the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality proceed with the acquisition of the Toad River Bridge, and that the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality continue to work with the province to ensure adequate ground access to and beyond the bridge, as well as explore grant funding opportunities that might be taken advantage of to help support some of the costs associated with the long-term maintenance of the bridge.
Thank you. I'd point out to council that the funding that Northwestel has indicated is currently privileged at this time, so the amount should not be mentioned. Any comments? Councillor Penny.
Just want to thank you very much for such a thorough report. Also, I'd just like to say that I feel very strongly about this project as well, because I foresee great opportunities come from that area. And once that bridge access is lost, they're never going to get it back. So with us trying to build a tourism industry, especially in this area, I foresee that hopefully some businesses, some other businesses get to take advantage of that area. So that's all.
Any other comments? Very well. Then Councillor Penny, would you like to make a motion?
Sure. I would like to make the motion that we follow through with the acquisition of the Toad River Crossing Bridge.
Do I have a seconder for Councillor Penny's? Councillor Souls seconds that. Any further comment? All those in favor? That carries unanimously. Thank you very much, Ms. Thompson, for a very thorough report. Administration report number 71, Town Square Renewal Project for decision. Mr. O'Shaughnessy.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council, or good evening, I should say. To summarize the report in front of you, in order to proceed with the August 9th resolution, number 5421, that NRM will renew Town Square Complex and proceed with the next steps as provided, a budget will need to be established by Regional Council. And a part of a background to that was that on April 16, Council received a presentation from McQuagan Associates outlining the findings from the Town Square Condition Assessment Report, including a detailed report of capital renewals and deficiency recommendations for Council to consider undertaking either immediately within 1 year, the short term 2 to 5 years, or long term 6 to 20 years. On May 10th, Council passed a resolution that staff proceed with a non-exclusive municipal agreement engaging McQuagan Associates for buildings and facilities engineering and consulting services. From that, we have received a submittal from, or a proposal from MAE as the prime consultant for Town Square, spanning a projected timeline of approximately 12 to 18 months. In addition to outlining the proposed project team comprised of architectural, electrical engineering, structural, fire, and building code experts, the proposal describes the project in 7 major phases. Phase 1, which is conceptual design, includes pre and post design consultation with stakeholders, production of current drawings of floor plan as is, recommended preliminary design based on feedback, assist in identifying grant opportunities. Phase 2 would be a detailed design drawings and specs, includes production of specs and drawing for inclusion in tender packages, updated price estimates, determined procurement and contracting methods, for example, with preference for local contractors who qualify. Phase 3 is tender, 4 is permit application, 5 is construction, 6 is commissioning, and 7 is post-construction. Work is currently underway for phase 1, conceptual design, in terms of NRM-based surveying and consultation. Additionally, the summary of the recommendations within the condition assessment report on page 4 suggests that the overall project budget, allow for consultant costs ranging between 10 to 15% and a contingency allowance between 15 to 20%. So those costs are outlined in the table below. Project consulting, engineering, design, project management of 15% and a contingency at 20%. So it should be noted that the construction costs currently are Class E estimates provided prior to any stakeholder consultation, design work, or a clearly defined scope of work. More precise pricing will be determined at phase 2 and 3 as described in the overall project outline above. Further in line with Council's direction and NRM's commitments under the Infrastructure Development Contribution Agreement with the province, considerable efforts will be made to seek grant funding to offset costs of the project. As reported in the 2021 budget process, the project balance on the Building and Facility Reserve Fund at the end of 2021 will be 9.3 million. So the option we're looking to consider is that the 2021 budget be amended in the amount of 1,054,000 to be funded from the building and facility reserves to provide for prime consulting costs associated with the Town Square Renewal Project, with the construction and contingency budget to be established once detailed design is complete, and taking advantage of all grant opportunities available to offset the costs.
Thank you, Mr. O'Shaughnessy. Do you have any questions for Mr. O'Shaughnessy, councillors? Councillor Penny.
Not so much a question, but a comment. I just wanted to thank you as well for a great report, but I wanted to give kudos to past and current staff for us having a reserve fund that we have to be able to make something like this possible. I think it's little known facts in our community of how good a job that staff have done with preparing us for something like this. So that's all I want to mention.
Thank you. Any other comments on this report? Hearing none, then I guess I'll make the motion that we go with the option that Mr. O'Shaughnessy has outlined, that the 2021 budget be amended in the amount of $1,054,000 to be funded from building and facilities reserves to provide for prime consulting costs associated with the Town Square Renewal Project. The construction contingency budget to be established once detailed design is complete, and taking advantage of all grant opportunities available to offset costs. Councillor Roper, seconded. Did we lose Councillor Andrews? Let's just take a moment, councillors. I'd like to have Councillor Andrews come back in before the vote. Councillor Andrews. Very well. Did you hear the motion, Councillor Andrews?
I'm sorry, I got disconnected before it was made.
Okay. The motion is that the 2021 budget be amended in the amount of $1,054,000 to be funded from building and facilities reserves to provide for prime consulting costs associated with Town Square Renewal Project, with a construction contingency budget to be established once detailed design is complete, and taking advantage of all grant opportunities available to offset costs. That motion was moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Roper. So is there any other comments you have, Councillor Andrews? Oh,
No, I don't have any. I'm in favor.
very well. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. That's carried unanimously. Administration report number 72. Speaking to this report is Mr. David Dominic.
Yeah, good evening. So
Good evening.
essentially, the report in front of you states that a tender was issued in late September, closed in October, and out of this process, we received 2 compliant submissions. Staff reviewed these submissions, and out of this, we can recommend G. McNeil for the award of the landfill scale operations.
Very well. Thank you. Is there any comments, councillors? Very well, then I'll make the motion that the landfill waste scale operations contract number 2021-36 be awarded to Jean McNeil in the amount of $73,219 annually, plus all applicable taxes for a term of 3 years. The Northern Rockies Region Municipality shall have the option to renew this contract for 2 additional years, 1-year terms based on the same terms and conditions subject to mutual consent. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Seconded by Councillor Penny. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Dominic.
Thank you.
Northern Rockies Region Municipality Permissive Tax Exemption Bylaw number 196, 2021 for adoption. Can I get a motion, please, to adopt that? Moved by Councillor Gerwing, seconded by Councillor Roper. All those in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 197221, procedure amendment, in-camera electronic participation, and the repealing procedure bylaw, emergency electronic participation bylaws. Ms. McIver.
Thanks.
So as council will recall, last month, or I guess it was still this month, feels like it's just flying by. Earlier this month, there was discussion around participation in-camera meetings by electronic means. So now that we use the Zoom platform, and just has become more or less standard process as a result of the pandemic, it's commonplace for folks to attend virtually. So council had a discussion around whether they wanted to reconsider the provision in the procedure bylaw where unanimous approval of council was required to permit in-camera attendance by electronic means. And what I heard council say at that meeting was that they were in favor of removing that provision and just including in-camera meetings among the other types of meetings that allowed for electronic participation. So the oddity with this is that because the electronic participation provision that required unanimous approval of council was brought in by its own little amending bylaw, we needed to repeal that, but also amend the procedure bylaw itself to include in-camera meetings among the other types of meetings that may be attended by virtual means. So you've got two little bylaws in front of you to basically achieve the outcome that you had desired. And so they're in front of you for first, second, and third readings.
Thank you. Is there any comment on this, councillors? Can I get a motion then, please? Moved by Councillor Souls, seconded by Councillor Andrews, that the Northern Rockies Region Municipality Procedure Amendment in-camera electronic participation bylaw number 197, 2021 be given first, second, and third reading. That the Northern Rockies Region Municipality Repealing Procedures Amendment Emergency Electronic Participation bylaw number 198, 2021 be given first, second, and third reading. All those in favor? Carried. Is that one motion sufficient then, Ms. McIver, for both of those?
Yep, that will work.
Okay, thank you. Correspondence letter from Fort Nelson District Chamber of Commerce to Minister Heyman, Environment and Climate Change Strategy, and Minister Conroy, Forest Lands, Natural Resource Operations, and Rural Development concerning the Nonda Tower Road Bridge. Received for information. Also received for information is a letter from Minister Lisa Bear, Citizen Services, thanking us for her time here. And that's received for information as well. Council information packages of October 13th, council information package for October 20th, received for information. There are no additions by mayor, council, or CAO. Standing items for discussions or any council reports. Councilor Gerwing.
Thanks, Mayor. So October 7th, I attended the NCLGA Healthcare Committee. So the healthcare report has been released and there was some local media pickup throughout the region. Much work has been done on a work plan to move the committee's work forward. It's not quite shareable as yet, but it should be soon. And I would just encourage whoever is taking my place on the NCLGA to please join this committee. And it's so important. I also attended the Community Health Plan Steering Committee. Dr. Mostert continues to work on the CT scanner project. Northern Health is still working on their business case for the scanner, and we continue to wait and wait and wait for that business case. Dr. Fury is here for 2 months and will be back in the spring for 3 months or so. Unfortunately, 2 of our clinics doctors will be leaving this summer. Also, 2 of the 3 people in the lab have resigned and will be leaving at the end of October. Obviously, will have a profound effect on local services, especially around emergency medicine. Northern Health is currently working on a plan, but to date, nothing has been shared, at least not with me. The Hospital and Healthcare Foundation used to advertise the mobile mammogram service throughout our communities for its scheduled visits. This helped to ensure that the mammogram machine was well utilized, so we didn't lose that service. As the Hospital and Healthcare Committee is no longer able to do this, the Community Health Plan is looking to take over this advertising. The monthly statistical data from Airport Way Medical Clinic will resume as of October 1st. This data has been really valuable and helps to highlight the many trips out of town our residents are faced with for diagnostic situations. I attended the NCLGA Sustainability Forum on October 13th and 14th, another 2 days on Zoom. The forum brought together waste managers, policymakers, industry professionals, local government staff, and elected officials from North Central BC communities. It was an opportunity to identify key barriers and explore possible solutions to solid waste reduction. The NRRM did a presentation on the vermicomposting project. Hillary did an amazing job delivering the presentation, and David and Luann helped to prepare the presentation. It was so very well done. Great job. And, you know, I had a proud mama moment there. It was really good. And I've heard all kinds of like, all kinds of really great comments. And, you know, some of the comments is like that vermicomposting presentation was the best of the forum. So yeah, it was very well done. Rosemary Cooper of Share Reuse Repair Initiative and BCIT School of Business delivered the keynote address on how communities can adopt a circular economy model to shape the future of waste management. My biggest takeaway from the 2 days conference is that Central and Northern BC share many common issues. However, the reality faced by rural and remote communities is very different from the urban reality. So I'm hoping that the NCLGA will continue to encourage all of the communities to talk together to perhaps create some long-term solutions to our solid waste management issues. October 14th, I attended the Chamber of Commerce Board meeting. They're looking at continuing the Shop Local campaign, which will take place in December. Watch for further details. I attended the library board meeting October 18th. They are completing their 2022 budget in preparation to submit to the NRM. The library's new computer area is complete, providing a COVID-safe means to access the public computers. The children's area will see an upgrade in 2022, and their regular hours will continue over the Christmas season with closures for their stat holidays. Attended the Community Health Plan Partners meeting on October 20th, and the partners met to discuss their continuing commitment to the CHP, and informal commitment from all partners was apparent at that meeting. I also attended the Indigenous training over the month of October. I completed the awareness training module that was offered to us. I found the training to be very well done and very beneficial. It was easy to navigate through. You could stop and start as your schedule dictated. I would highly recommend this training. I think it would be a great addition to every new council's orientation. As well, I think it would be a valuable addition to employees, new employees orientation and current employees pro-D. And so, yeah, and then I attended the North Central Local Government Association board meeting on October 23rd. We heard BC Hydro was an emerging issue, and communities were sharing similar concerns that we're experiencing. I know it doesn't help to know that we're not alone, but we're not alone. The NCLGA will begin a process to determine how best to address the members' concerns. So this kind of situation really highlights what we can bring to the NCLGA. So we brought it explaining what was happening in our community. And then other communities began to talk about it too. And now everybody's working together to hopefully have a more coordinated way to address these issues. Fraser Lake residents can wait up to 7 days to even get a COVID test done, let alone the results. So we were talking about COVID testing as well. Other communities are experiencing delayed test results, but also even getting the test is problematic. So this is all coming out of the NCLGA board meeting. The MIA-BC, so Municipal Insurance Association of BC, area representation will be done differently in 2022 and moving forward. So historically, the representative was appointed by the area associations. Consequently, we will need to watch for a call from MIA-BC for interested parties that would like to serve on their board. And then the person that we appoint to go to the AGM will need to be prepared to vote on our area representation. So this is going to be different. And so I know that the next person on the NCLJ board will keep us informed as to how that all flows. In response to some members' concerns over the rate structure, the board has developed a new way of determining the rate that members will be paying. Members will be asked to vote on the new fee structure electronically. So that will be coming out. I think it's really important that we make sure that we take part in that vote. Notices have been sent out to members outlining what the changes will look like for each member. The rate change for the NRM should be minimal. The long meeting, 9 till 4:30, very long meeting, ended with a presentation from Geoscience outlining who they are and what they do. But really exciting for us is that they presented some of their project, and FNFN's geothermal project was highlighted. And do you remember the man's name here? Can't remember his name, but he said it was his favorite project. No, it wasn't Carlos. So yeah. Anyways, yeah.
What's that guy's name? I can't
Yeah.
remember.
And then the last thing, and then I'll shut up. Also, I attended the business walks on October 22nd. So I spent the morning conducting interviews with local businesses on behalf of the NRM and the Chamber of Commerce. And it was, yeah, it was an eye-opening experience for sure. Some businesses are very concerned as if they're even going to be here next year, and others were optimistic as to their future. So I'm sure the report will be forthcoming. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other reports? Very well, I'll do mine. October 15th, spoke to Josie Osborne, Minister of Municipal Affairs. Minister had asked that communities throughout the north give her one item that was pertinent to our community. And of course, I brought up the pellet plant and told her that we could use a champion around that cabinet table to promote the pellet industry in Fort Nelson as far as economic development goes. On the 15th as well, chaired or attended a meeting with the mayors and chiefs from the Northeast. That was a really good meeting. It was the inaugural meeting of mayors and chiefs getting together to talk about reconciliation and what it meant to our areas. I think we can look forward to something coming out in the newspaper here, perhaps on Wednesday, about that meeting. Chief Scotty from Prophet River and Chief Gale also attended, as well as Chief Hunter from the DOEG. I believe the halfway was there, Moberly Lake, I can't remember their names, Mayor Bumstead, Mayor Ackerman, Mayor Bertram from Tumbler Ridge, Mayor Coutre from Chetwynd, and Mayor Atkinson from Mackenzie were also there. So it was really good, and it was a really wonderful conversation for about 3 hours. On October the 18th, I attended the fall joint meeting for Northern Health for their capital spending. October 19th, of course, we had Eamon O'Donoghue here and Mike Hikeaway talking about the pellet project as well. And I came away very much optimistic about the future of that project here. October 22nd, I went on a business walk through our community, met a lot of business people that I don't usually run into. And generally speaking, was fairly optimistic. Everyone that I spoke to said their business was either steady or improving, and they look forward to better times in the next year or two. Looking forward, of course, to COVID-19 being over. Like Councillor Gerving, I attended NCLGA, the governance board the day before, and NCLGA general board meeting from 9 to 4 following day. I received a handwritten letter from, well, just a note from Lisa Bear, thanking us very much for her time in the Northern Rockies. That was nice for her to take the time to write something. I spoke to Kathy Aldridge, head of Northern Health, regarding the time it took to get these COVID tests. Mrs. Aldridge went into great detail. She actually phoned me about 7 o'clock in the evening, went into great detail about the COVID testing and what had gone wrong. In the middle of the second wave of COVID, the BC government were able to procure testing machines for COVID tests. One of them is called GeneX, which is in Fort St. John, and another one at Mills, and the other one is called, I believe it's Panther X. These are machines that do the testing for whether or not you've got COVID. Each of these machines takes proprietary reagents that are needed to complete these tests. The Panther machine, which does the majority of the testing, that reagent comes from the United States. They order these reagents every 2 weeks. And that has to do with the lifespan of the reagent. When they ordered the reagent for the Panther machine in their proper time frame, 2 weeks, that order was held up at the American border. There wasn't a lot of reason given, but they suspected the US government was stopping that order from coming across the border until they could determine whether or not those reagents were going to be needed within the United States. This put that Panther machine out of action and delayed all the testing across northern British Columbia. That has since been rectified, and by October 25th, so today, they feel that they will be on time and on track to get that testing done more or less along the timeframes that they had indicated before. Having said that, the timeframes they were giving were before the fourth wave and the multitude of tests they had to administer across the province. So this may take an extra day or two, but that was the explanation I was given by Kathy Aldridge for the delay in those tests. And that's about all I have for my report. Are there any questions, Ms. MacIver? Online? No? Very well. I'll ask for a motion to adjourn then. Moved by Councillor Penny, seconded by Councillor Souls. All those in favor? Carried.
Have a great night, everybody. Bye now.
Good night, John.
Good night. See ya.